Soleil water. Why did I start doing it? When? How? All the good stuff. So SOLE water, Soleil water. Anyways, the old cooter come back at you with another exciting video. Seems to be like the new craze. I think I've seen some research, right? Some materials, some videos back from about 6 or 8 years ago or something. But I think now it's becoming more and more popular. Dehydration is a big thing. I think most Americans are dehydrated. They're not drinking enough water, right, in the first place, but they're also not getting the electrolytes, the minerals, the things that the body needs to basically run efficiently. Mineral water. You know, you have to remember way back when, before filtration and pasteurization and all that other stuff, people were drinking water straight out of a well, and that's probably the best water that you could drink. Unfortunately, in today's age, because of bacteria, growth, mold, whatever, most of our systems, like here, at least in the United States, our bodies cannot handle that. You might get the runs, you might get the squirtles, if you know what I'm talking about. And if you do, comment down below with a funny face, but you know what I'm talking about. So basically, how do you recover from that, right? In today's day and age, this is 2025, how can we get the minerals out of our water that we used to be getting? So I use Himalayan pink salt, but really one level above that would really be to use Celtic sea salt. I think the Celtic sea salt has the least amount of bad stuff in it, and it has the most amount of healthy nutrients in it, is the best way to describe it. But basically the thought process is that this is in my case, if you take this information with a grain of salt, literally, and kind of assess it to your own situation, talk to your healthcare professional, talk to your doctor about what you can do. I've been doing this now for about a month. And from what I've noticed is that I feel less thirsty. Like I constantly was thirsty. I was drinking water. I was drinking like a gallon of water a day. I was like, why am I so thirsty? So I started doing this. I still drink, or I try to drink at least a gallon of water a day, but I feel better. I feel like my body feels better. I just feel like I have more energy. I feel like the electrolytes are actually working. I don't get muscle cramps as much as I used to in the past. Maybe every few days I might go it was horrible. I might go 3 or 4 hours without drinking any water just because I got busy, caught up in things, whatever. And I might get a muscle cramp later on that night, even with taking magnesium and potassium supplements. Like I was still getting the muscle cramp. So magnesium, potassium can only do so much. But honestly, I notice that if I'm doing this process right throughout the day, drinking the Soleil water, I notice that I just feel better. I feel more energetic. I feel like I have more energy, is what I'm trying to say. I feel like I have less of a tendency to be tight, like my muscles to be tight or to cramp up, etc. So how is this process all done? The best way to describe it is you basically mix up a batch of good salt, right? Either Himalayan pink or Celtic sea salt if you can afford it, into a small container of water. And I'll give you the measurements that I use here in a minute. But then what I do is then I take some of that water and I'll mix it into 8 ounces of good filtered water. Or I might take more of this, like let's call it the mother batch. I'll take more of this and put it into like a liter sized container that I'm going to carry with me maybe in the first part of the day or whatever the case may be. So how does all this work? For something like this small, what I'll do is I'll take 1/8 of a teaspoon of the Himalayan pink. I'll put it in this container, fill up to about like right here or so with filtered water, right? Trying to keep as much of the bad stuff out. Mix it all up, let it sit overnight. So then after it's sat overnight, what I'll notice is that it's not as cloudy, and you just get a very small amount of sediment in the bottom. And that's basically the stuff that hasn't dissolved yet, right? So then what I'll do is I'll mix this up and I'll put 1/8 of a teaspoon of this water into 8 ounces of water. This isn't quite 8 ounces. I drank some of this water. In the meantime, I was feeling parched. But anyways, I'll mix up 1/8 of this mother batch into 8 ounce of filtered water, and then I'll just drink the glass. Sometimes I chug it all at once. Sometimes I might do it in 2 parts or whatever. Have maybe 4 ounces before I eat and then 4 ounces after I eat, or whatever the case is. If I'm going to be doing this for like a big batch, like if I'm going to make, a a half gallon of this stuff, or sorry, if I know I'm going to put it in a container that's a half gallon size container, what I'll do is I might put in like a full-blown teaspoon, right? So I'll put in a full-blown teaspoon of this mix. And remember, it's sat overnight. The minerals and the salt has absorbed in the water, osmosis. I'll put a teaspoon of this into a container that'll hold like a half a gallon. And then I'll fill up that half gallon jug with filtered water, and boom, then I've got enough for at least like half of the day or whatever. The reason why I don't mix this up in the actual container that I'm going to be drinking in is because a lot of those containers are plastic, right? I'm trying to avoid that. Some of them are stainless steel, if you can find a good stainless steel like water jug to carry around. But the problem is salt will corrode steel, even stainless steel. It doesn't matter. You know, after using it over and over and over again, you'll get some corrosion action going on. But if you're going to be just drinking it and then rinsing it out, washing it, and that's very important too, is after you do finish drinking the water, you know, overnight, like before you go to bed, just rinse out your containers. Like if you are going to use like a, whatever the current brand is or whatever of container, let's say it's stainless steel, even if it is plastic, if you've resorted to plastic, so be it. If it's going to be glass, you know, you don't have to worry about it as much, but I still will rinse this out right before I go to bed and just let it, you know, warm soapy water, clean it out, and then the next morning it's fresh, it's ready to use. You get the idea. But anyways, I hope this video out there helps someone out there. Comment down below if you found something in here useful. Soleil water, that's basically what it is a little bit of this goes into a lot of bit of this. Keeps you hydrated, at least in my case, keeps me hydrated, keeps me from feeling thirsty all the time, prevents the muscle cramps, also helps to my muscles to feel looser, right? More flexible. I don't get as tight in the muscles as I used to. And that's basically what it does for me. So with that being said, there are some links down below in the description. There's also links in the comment section. I'm the Old Coot, and I'll catch you all on another Soleil water kind of a day.